Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This talk that I'll give is something special for me. Of course, to have the opportunity to speak about Krishna is always special, but I'm going to speak on name 500 in the Vishnu Sahasranama. It's the halfway point, at least in terms of the numbers. So it's something of an achievement, and I pray for the blessings of all the Vaishnavas that I may have the opportunity to attempt to glorify the Supreme Lord, not only in this lifetime, but in all future lifetimes, whatever I have. The name 500 is Puratanah. Puratanah. Can you understand what this means? Does this come in the Tamil language also? In other Indian languages, we don't have to ask. It means very old. Well, Bhagavan is Sanatana. That's another of his names. He's eternal. So that means he must be very old. I'm looking to see if there's some old person. Our Purushottam. How old are you?
76.
76. So we think that's quite old. Quite old. Actually, you're much older than that. We're all old. How old is this little girl? Vayasam? 5 years old. So we think that's very young. Actually, you're very old. We're all Sanatan. We're all eternal. So you are as old as he. How is that possible? Because we're all eternal. So then why are we making a special feature of Vishnu as being old? We're all old, so why call him old? Well, he's the supreme old, supreme Puratana. Our very existence depends upon him. So our Purushottam Jagannath is 76 years old and he looks old. It's not surprising. Sometimes you see yogis, not very often, more in North India, but they're not very common also. And from their jata, you can understand they must be hundreds of years old because it doesn't grow in 1 or 2 years. And apart from their long hair, they look very young. They know the art of how to keep the body young by various yogic practices. But generally, old persons look old. The hair turns white and then it falls out. In women, they start to grow hair on their face, wrinkles, stooped over, general lack of energy. Old age is one of the 4 miseries that Lord Krishna mentions as being typical of the material world. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, birth, death, old age and disease. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, speaking about himself, says, Vriddha kala ayalo shab shuk bhagalo. Now old age has come and all happiness has gone away. But Krishna, he always looks young. He is always young. He's also old. How is that possible? Well, this girl is young, 5 years, but she's also very old because she's eternal. But her body will become old. Sorry, your very nice, young, pretty body will eventually become old and worn out. There's nothing we can do to stop that. But we can tell the process by which you can get an eternal body that will always be young and fresh and beautiful. When Krishna was present on this earth, he remained for approximately 125 years. He is very famous that he was the charioteer of Arjuna, Partha Sarathi. So at that time, he had sons and grandsons, but he still looked very young because his transcendental form, it's not a material form, it's a spiritual form. He never gets old. But this name is that he's old, Puratanah. So how can you say he doesn't get old when his name is old? He's old, but he's not under the influence of time. We conceive of him as being old, but he's transcendental to time. Yeah, Kalatita. Time is he says, Kalosmi in Bhagavad Gita, I am time. So he's not under the influence of time. Time is under the influence of him. He's old, but he's always fresh and new. In the material world, for material pleasure, we seek new things. We get bored of saying the same thing or doing the same thing. Just like if there's some movie. They always have to make a new movie because you can't watch the same movie all the time. You can think, what is the best movie you ever saw in your life? So one kind of torture would be to be shown that movie. They say, no, it'd be very good. But if you are shown it, you have to sit and watch it 1,000 times. It would get extremely boring and, terrible. I'll watch the same thing again and again. But Krishna's pastimes, they're more or less the same. Or Ramayana, people like to hear the story of Lord Ram again and again and again. And they know what's going to happen, but it's always fresh and attractive. So Krishna and his pastimes are old, but they always seem fresh and new. That's not possible in material existence. So, Krishna is very old, and we are also very old. How old? We can't even imagine. If we're told about the history of Tamil Nadu and the Chola kings and the Pandya kings, we can maybe just imagine it. That was just a few hundred years ago. If we think about a few thousand years ago, well, according to the nonsense they speak at school, there were Stone Age people and all this kind of thing. But actually there was civilization going back many thousands of years, the Vedic civilization. But we can hardly imagine what would it be like to go back in time 1,000 years, 2,000 years. But then if we're talking about 1,000 years, 1 million years, 10 million years, we can't imagine what it's like such a long time ago. Even 10 million years is a short time if we're talking about eternity. So we can hardly conceive of what it means, such a long, long time. Because our life, we can only think it's going to be 70, 80, maybe 90 years. We can hardly imagine what it means. 1 million years, 100 million years. But Krishna is existing throughout all time, even before there was time. In this material world, there is creation and destruction. And then again creation, there's cycles of creation and destruction. So during the period of after the pralayam, of the complete, there's no material existence. It's all dormant. So at that time, there is no time. In the material world, time is measured according to movement. The Vedic measurement of time, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, the smallest period of time is called a kshana. That word is still there. It is the time it takes one atom to move to the next space. But if there's no movement, then there's no time. We measure time according to the movements of the sun and the moon. Thus we have days and months and years. But if there's no sun or moon or atoms, then there's no movement. Yo gachatiti jagat. That which moves is called jagat. So when everything is completely absorbed into the body of Mahavishnu, then there's no movement, there's no time. Krishna exists even before time. He activates time. Even the very concept of time arises from him. He existed before everything else. Of course, we also existed during the time of pralayam, or when everything is dormant. But even the consciousness of the jivas becomes dormant. So it's almost as if we didn't exist. So in that sense, we're old and he's old, but he's older than us. In cultured society, respect is given to older people. Krishna is the oldest of all, so he should be respected more than others. In the Vedic literature, we learn about some very old rishis. Markandeya Rishi, Lomasha Rishi. They're so old that they even during the pralayam, they still remain. And very, very, very old. That even they think that Krishna is old compared to me. So whatever qualities we may have, such as oldness, Krishna has it more than us. Therefore, he's the supreme. There are names, many other names in Vishnu Sahasranama, which just slow down a bit, which they are related to this name Puratanah. That name Sanatana, I already suggested that. Adi Deva, he's the origin of all the gods. The gods, they're very old. Indra lives for such a long time. But then there are 14 Indras in one day of Brahma. So although the demigods are very old compared to us, then they are insignificant. Their lifespan is insignificant compared to that of Brahma. But then so many Brahmas come and go. Their whole lifespan is within the one breath of Karanadakashai Vishnu. So again, those who are very old by our estimation, they see Vishnu as being much older. If we analyze these names, we can understand how Vishnu, Krishna is supreme. Not the demigods. They come and go. Krishna remains. Now another thing, Krishna is the old God. We find Vyasa, he glorifies Krishna. Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, which is fairly recent in terms of eternal time. But even long before Krishna's appearance, he's glorified in the Vedas. Krishna is glorified by Lord Brahma, by Prahlad, who appeared long before. Lord Rama also spoke about his upcoming future appearance as Krishna. Now, in the modern age, many people they think that some people are God, but they're not God. At the present time, the most popular is, of all these imagined gods is called Sai Baba. But he's not Puratanah. When was this Sai Baba, Shirdi Sai Baba, when was he around? Late 19th century? About 150 years ago. So that's not Puratanah. Prior to that, no one had ever heard of him. There's no mention of him in Shastra. It's just some Kali Yuga contamination that people think that he's Bhagavan. You find way back in ancient history, great rishis are worshipping Krishna, not Sai Baba. No one had ever heard of Sai Baba. Or Swami Narayan. In Gujarat they have Swami, you never heard of him here, but in Calcutta they say Ram Krishna is Bhagavan. But this is all imagination. It's some new thing. So our hosts here this evening, they are from a Yadava family. So their family ancestors have a very old relationship with Krishna. But I have seen on your altar, there is this so-called Sai Baba. So I don't think that your forefathers will be very pleased with this. We have Krishna, we know he's our old family God and the real God of everyone. So don't be carried away by all these fashions. Stick to the old and good thing. The same thing in the Indian culture. Whatever is there, the old thing is good. The old culture is, there are so many features of that. One of them is that a man marries a woman and they remain married throughout their life. New culture, they get married and then they get divorced. In new culture, they don't even bother marrying, they have a live-in relationship. In the old culture, people, they knew what was dharma, they know what is punya, they know what is pap. In the new culture, they have no idea. In the old culture, people, they worship Krishna. In the new culture, they worship politicians, film stars, cricket stars. They have no idea of Krishna. They can tell you what the Indian leading batsman likes to eat for breakfast, but they don't know about Krishna. So better to stick to the old culture and go to Krishna. Don't go, otherwise you'll go to hell. So other names in Vishnu Sahasranam, Aja, Krishna is unborn. Anadi, he has no beginning. And he's incomprehensible, achintya. We cannot imagine anyone is so very, very old. If we meet someone, we say, how old are you? Just to tell you, I've had many, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahuni me vyatitani, I have passed many lives. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani, I've passed many lives. Bahuni me vyatitami jamani tavacha Arjuna. You also have Arjuna. Tanya hang veda sarvani, but I remember them all. Natvang veda. Natvang veda parantapa. Parantapa, you're a great conqueror of enemies, but you don't remember your previous lives. In this way, Krishna's oldness is distinguished from ours, because he remembers and we don't. So he's beginningless, unborn, not governed by time. He's also our old friend. When you become a little older, then you have old friends. You may meet an old friend from school. Oh, my old friend means someone very special to you. And if you've from a young age been in regular contact with someone, that person is very special to you. Today, some disciples of mine told me of one godbrother of mine who they'd met, Nikhilananda Prabhu. So I said, oh, he's my old friend. We were together in Bangladesh. It must have been early 1980s, something like that. So it means it's something very special, an old friend. Well, how old is our friend Krishna? He accompanies us life after life. He's always looking for our benefit. It's something special to have an old friend. But we don't realize what a true and sincere friend we have from such a long time. So if we don't maintain our relationship with Krishna, we're missing out on something so sweet and precious. We can't even remember how he's been helping us. We're not even grateful. But Krishna continues to be our oldest friend and our best friend. That's another name in the Vishnu Sahasranama. Suhrit, he is our heart-to-heart friend. Baladev Vidyabhushan, the Gauriya commentator on Vishnu Sahasranama, he gives another meaning, Puratanah. So Pura means a place, and sometimes the body is called Pura also. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna describes the body as Navadvare Pure Dehi. The body is like a city of 9 gates. So Krishna is situated in every body. And therefore he is also called Pur. That's another meaning of the name Puratana, one who is in every body. Hare Krishna. Any question about this, please?
We know that Bharat has told us, Krishna is our oldest friend. So someone will say that Krishna is our friend, so
Why do bad things happen when Krishna is our good friend? If you have a good friend and he's willing to give you a good advice and you don't take it, then you can't blame the friend for if you get a bad result. Krishna is always ready to give us good advice, but unfortunately we do not like to hear it. So if we ignore Krishna and act according to our own whims, then we will get bad results. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Did you all appreciate the lecture this evening? So that's very good. You have a good appreciation of Krishna Katha. So how could I speak like this? I got the knowledge from Srila Prabhupada's books. So please, you take Srila Prabhupada's books. It will enrich your life unlimitedly. Even if you have the books, take some more. To be greedy for the knowledge given in Shastra, that is a good kind of greed. So even just like materialistic people, they collect things that they don't need. Many women, if they have enough money, they'll collect. They may have 50 saris, 100 saris. How many saris can you wear? Or they have so many pairs of shoes. They like to collect things. So collect these books. If you have that tendency to collect these books. Fill up your house with Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Another question. So in this world, some people are they're doing sins. They're leading a flourishing, contented life. Actually, they're not happy.
Not only for them. Their generations also leading flourishing life. How it happens?
How does it happen? They're not following any, they're not good, but they have wealth and everything else. But they're not happy.
How it happens?
They're not happy actually. That what happens is, say the question in Tamil. It's a common question. Generally when people, often when people are suffering in this world, they become very pious and pray to God. They think I'm suffering because of my bad reactions. So let me be good and pray to God. As a result, they get born in a rich family. And they think, I'm rich, I'm powerful, why do I need to recognize any God? And they perform all sinful acts. And then again, so they feel happy, but as a result, in the next life again, they have to become in a suffering condition. Yeah, we'll finish that.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj ki, Prabhupada ki.